Hey guys, and welcome back. So today we have a pair of Ace Marks double monk strap shoes that we are going to completely refurbish. I know a lot of you guys have reached out to us in the comment section and have asked us to do a review on Ace Marks. We haven't been able to get our hands on a pair until a customer here in the Nashville area brought us a pair a couple of weeks ago, and we are getting to those today. We're going to resole those, completely refurbish them, and while we do that, we'll kind of give you guys an inside look of the quality of that shoe and how they're constructed, and hopefully that will give you guys a little bit more insight into the Ace Marks brand. With that being said, let's go ahead and get to it. Alright, so as usual, let's go ahead and get these top lifts off. As you can see on these Ace Marks, or at least on this pair, they do use the combination leather rubber, which is kind of a nice touch on these shoes. Of course, I've got the little decorative nails in there as well, so it's kind of a nice touch. Alright, I'll take this tool here and just separate the sole from the welt. I'll take my razor and pop those stitches that are holding on the shoe. Alright, so one of the things that I'm quite impressed with these Ace Marks is how the welt has stayed in place. I don't know if you guys watched our last video of the Todd's loafers. If you haven't, then I'll put a link above where you can watch that, and we kind of compare the welts. Now, Todd's, I believe, is around a $600, $500–600 loafer, Italian made, and the welt on it, the teeth and all, were much smaller than what you see on these Ace Marks. And when I took the sole off of the Todd's, the welt was barely glued onto the shoe, so the welt pretty much just came off, and then I had to try to follow the line of the shoe and put it back where it was. Now these teeth are much more substantial. They're much more along the lines of what you saw in our Beckett Seminon video, and you know, when I take the welt off, obviously you can see it hasn't moved, it stayed in place, it's glued on. You can see there, like I'm pulling on it, and it's on there, which is great, because a lot of these Blake Stitch shoes, when you go to pull these welts off, or when you go to pull the sole off, if that welt is not glued on there tightly, and it doesn't have bigger teeth on it like this one, again, it really makes our job much more difficult to get the welt put back on exactly the way it was. So I like that on this one. Alright, so I have the soles off of these Ace Marks here. What I have to do now, you can see the nails that we're holding on the heel block. I'm gonna have to go in from the inside and pull these out. You've got this really thin piece of crepe that was just kind of, I don't even think they were using this for padding, because it is, I mean, it's paper thin. So again, I don't think it was used for padding. I think it was more, a lot of times you'll have companies that will put things up here to prevent any type of squeaking on the shoe. So if they don't put a lot of glue in here, then sometimes if you've ever walked and you hear a squeak in your shoe, it can be caused by, you know, the leather sole rubbing up against the inside. So a lot of companies will put things like this or cork or something like that to prevent that, and that's what this is. But since the gentleman started wearing into it, we're going to go ahead and pull all of this off, and instead what I'm going to do is just put a really thin piece of cork on both of these, and then I'm going to have to pull out the stitches from the inside, and then we'll go from there, and that's when we'll start putting the sole on. So let's tackle these projects. All right, so we've got the little screw or the remainders of the nails out. Now I got to pull out this old stitching. All right guys, so I pulled out the old nails from the bottom. You saw I pulled out the old stitching and I replaced that old crate that was ripped and put in new cork there. So what I'm going to do now is put glue on the bottoms of these shoes, glue the soles, wait a few minutes, let those glues cure, and then we'll stick those and continue on. So let's get back to it. Okay guys, so we have given the soles and the shoes enough time for that glue to set up and cure. We use a compound glue, which means, you know, we put glue on one side, glue on the other, you let them cure for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then when you stick them together, it becomes a really, really strong bond. So we're good to go. Now we're going to get these soles stuck on. Right. All right, let's go put these on the press. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is clean up these shoes. We're not going to polish them yet, but you can see that this one has a big stain here. And I'm not sure what got on that. The customer wasn't sure what he spilt on it. But I want to go ahead and try to clean these shoes. They're going to get a little wet, so I want to give the shoes time to dry out. And while they're drying out, I can continue doing the rest of the resole. So anyways, let's go ahead and attack this problem, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we're going to use a little leather soap here and see if just the soap alone will get that stain out. All right, so I can still see this dark spot left in there. So the soap obviously isn't going to tackle that problem alone. So I'm going to try something that we've done several times and it seems to do a really good job. We did a video on this stain remover for leather, and what I like to do is try to clean the shoe with saddle soap. It gets the shoe wet and kind of brings the moisture of that stain back up to the front. Then what I do is I take this product here and I spray it onto the shoe. And that powder, it's going to begin to dry, and that powder is going to suck up that moisture and try to draw it up to the top of the shoe. So we're going to let this sit for several hours, see if this does the job. Hopefully it will, like I said, it'll bring that stain to the top. Then we'll clean it again with saddle soap to remove all of this. And I'm hoping, as we've done in the past, that that stain will be gone. So we'll come back. Okay, so we have the soles stitched on now. Now what we're going to do is put these heel blocks back on. Like I've done in other videos, what I like to do is mark exactly where the heel block originally came. And then once I've drawn that line on there, then I like to take this little tool here, has these little spikes on it, and I just like to rough up this part of the leather. And the reason that we do that, and most people don't, you know, most manufacturers and most other shoe cobblers, I don't believe do this, but I like to do it just because it helps the glue to adhere to the leather better. And even though we don't put a lot of glue on the heel blocks, because you know, we don't want to make it so hard to get off the next time. So anyway, so sometimes you get that squeak in your shoe and you're wondering where that sound's coming from. And you know, sometimes that's what it is. It's just, you know, you're rubbing on the smooth leather, or maybe there's a little air pocket where the glue didn't adhere well. So anyway, so that's why we rough that up. It's just kind of, it just helps to prevent that from happening. Okay, so we got the glue on the back of the heel. We've got the glue on the back of the heel block. We're gonna give this a couple minutes to set up. Then we'll come back and stick these. Still have to put the nails on here to help hold it. And after that, we'll put the top lifts on. So we'll be back in just a second. I went ahead and put the heel blocks onto these shoes. You can see I went ahead and put the nails down through there, so it is held on nice and tight, not going anywhere. One of the things that I forgot to bring up and mention to you guys, since we are doing kind of a refurbishment slash review of Ace Marks, is I forgot to talk about the heel blocks on this brand. What I recognized is that the heel blocks on these Ace Marks appears to be compressed particle board. So with some of the other brands that we've done, I believe Beckett Simonon, Allen Edmonds, those are like a ground up leather that is then compressed together and made into a heel block. The Ace Marks look different than those brands. These appear to be actually compressed particle board. Generally, I wouldn't like that, but I'll say this, as long as the heel block comes off easily and it doesn't snap, it doesn't break into a million pieces when they're trying to take it off, then generally it's okay. So for example, these Ace Marks, when I took the heel block off of these, they came right off. It didn't gouge it. There wasn't pieces of particle paper, you know, peeling off or anything like that. And again, as long as it comes off in nice, one clean, you know, block, then you're good. I can reuse these, and if I have to repair these again, they should pop off just as easily the third time as they did, you know, the second time here. So anyways, that appears to be what Ace Marks' heel blocks are. Compressed particle board. Again, they held up well when I took them off, and for that, I'll say it's a good thing. So anyways, let's get the top lifts put on here and keep going. All right, so top lifts are on the shoe. There we go. Now what we have to do, you can see that this hasn't been sanded down, so we have to sand all this down and make that smoother. So let's go ahead and get to that. right, so we are done resoling the shoes. Last thing that we have to do is just put the color back into these Ace marks. Now the reason that the color faded so much on this one is you can see that that's where, you can barely see it, but there was a little bit of that stain mark there. We were able to get most of it out, so now we are just going to put some more conditioner and cream back on the shoe and then polish these back up, and then they should be ready to go. So let's get to it. So the color that we're using on these is the mahogany Saphir MDO cream. It was the closest match that I saw to the original color. If you look up underneath here at the tongue and around this area that's usually hidden by the monk strap, that's the original color, and it's pretty dark. So these shoes had faded a lot, and we're going to put the color back in there. Alright, so I've got those wiped down so you can see how much, if you don't wipe them down, how much excess pigment comes off from these creams. So it's really important, guys, that you're wiping down your shoes if you're using these Saphir cream products. Alright, so last thing we're going to do is just apply a little bit of shoe wax onto the toes, try to get a little bit more of that scuffed out, or those scuffs out, and then we'll finish up. Okay guys, so we have the shoes polished up. Last thing that we need to do is just put all of these inserts back into the shoe. Okay, after I do that, I will give you my final review on Ace marks and show you the final product. Alright guys, so we are finished up with the Ace marks double monk straps. As you can see, what came in pretty beat up, we have resoled, put on new top lifts, and polished up the uppers, and they look much better, so I hope the customer is pleased with the results. Anyways, before we go, I also want to give you my quick rundown and my thoughts on Ace marks in general. So as you can see, the pair that we got in here were already worn, unlike some of our other videos where we got them brand new. The Beckett Simonons were ours. We got to wear them around a little bit. Some of the Mirrormans and the Thursday boot shoes, those videos were brand new. So the overall shoe looked a little nicer than what these did. But I like these being a little worn because it shows us how they wear. My quick thoughts on it. As a whole, the Ace Marks have very good uppers. The leathers are calfskin, full grain leathers, very soft, very smooth. I do like that about them. The heel blocks were not my favorite of all of the different brands that we have reviewed so far. I would say that Ace Marks are down toward the bottom other than Johnston Murphy. The reason I say that, most of the other brands that we have reviewed are either stacked leather or they are a leather composite. So they're much easier to work with, much longer lasting. The Ace Marks is like compressed particle board or paper. It's easier to just shred into pieces. It's super hard, which means when we tried to go back in and put our little decorative tacks through the top lift, it was popping a bunch of them. They weren't even wanting to dig into the heel block. It was that hard. So I'm not a big fan of their heel blocks. The welt on these I do like. It's leather. It stayed on there. It had wider teeth, which means when we take the sole off, it stays in place, as opposed to some of the other shoes we have reviewed like Todd's. I would say Ace Marks is a typical Italian made shoe. And when I say that, I'm not saying Italian shoes are not good. What I'm saying is they're all kind of the same. So you could take the Ace Marks and you could put it next to a Magnani, To Boot New York, and some of the others, cut them apart and they look exactly the same. I didn't see a big difference between this shoe and a Magnani or a To Boot that's up in the $400, $500 price range for some of those. The inside of them obviously don't have much cushion. As with most Italian shoes, it is pretty much leather on top of the insole, and it's stitched together, and that's about it. So it's very different than a lot of the Goodyear welted shoes that you'll see out there. Very streamlined, very low profile. That's kind of what Ace Marks is. And again, for the low 300, mid 300, and even $400 price range where some of these Ace Marks are falling, I think there's better quality shoes out there if you're looking for overall quality, overall better build. I would say there's better shoes out there for the price point. But again, if that's all you're looking for is just that typical Italian made shoe, very low profile, then again, I think these are going to fall right alongside Magnani's and a lot of those other brands. Anyways, I think that was about it. I hope that answered a lot of your questions. If you have any more questions at all regarding these, leave us a comment below, as we always try to answer as many of those as we can. We love getting back to you guys and providing any inside thoughts that we can. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, as that always helps our videos to grow, and definitely subscribe to our channel below. Thanks again. Until next time, have a great day.